Kuma. Kuma's a character I've been interested in for a very long time, ever since we saw his first conception with him walking with Dofi and that little meme walk that gets memed around here and there. But I've started to honestly really like him for a whole bunch of multitude of reasons, just like how I really love Law. With one, the drip.
Hold on, let me take a picture of my son real quick, son. Fucking fly, you shit me? If you shit me?
With him first having this really cool fucking bucket hat he has on his fucking head, where he has what looks like bear ears on top of his ears, as well as he has like bear little markings all around his body, whether they be on his jacket or even on his pants itself. The shoes aren't really much to really brag about, but the thing is, I also really love his fucking jacket. Even the jacket Kawabachi himself would be pissed off at. Then I'll just say these two because they both coincide with each other. His like and subscribe, it helps. Powers, as well as the mystery of Kuma itself, right? From us first seeing Kuma and his powers of him just being able to uniquely transport anyone wherever they want to be transported to randomly, or you can as well as take the pain out of somebody and put it to either someone else as well as just let it sit there for a bit. With the cute little additive of like the bear paw on his hands, that looks really fucking cool. And I felt like this really does coincide with the mystery element we had before with Kuma, because before we saw him next at the end of Throw the Bark, where he then takes out all the pain that came out from Luffy's captain and wanted to test out Zoro to see if he would actually help him out and take all the pain itself. Added on with the sort of Bible element he had, because he holds the Bible itself, seeing that obviously you don't have to believe in Christianity to have like a Bible, but like I mean like in the terms of him, one sort of having his jacket sort of look a little bit like a cross, but also at the same time seeing if this has anything to do with any religious elements, which clearly it does have somewhat influence in his past, but like not the direction I thought it would really go with. Then we see Kuma come out again and actually help out the sharks by teleporting them to different locations around the world of One Piece, so they would have even an ounce of a chance to fucking survive, because it would have been the end of their journey if they stayed around any longer. And the last thing to say about Kuma before we get into his full-on backstory is him seeing him as a slave for the Celestial Dragons, being in prison and being like tortured as a cattle and be ridden around or just be treated like pure fucking garbage. And I felt like for the story where it came to Kuma, he's just like one of those interesting characters that you see in One Piece here and there, that we only get little tidbits or little bits and pieces around the story of One Piece that Oda likes to give us here and there until he's ready to give us like a full backstory, or he's ready to do something with that character in general, with Kuma being one of them. We're finding out why does he hold around the Bible, where did he get his powers, why did he become a warlord, how did he become a warlord, or even this sense of like Bonnie, or what does she have to do with Bonnie, or whatever the case is. With Oda finally answering all my fucking questions, well, all of our questions really, but my questions really. Spoilers, but obviously you know that for the recent manga chapters that we've had for the last like 5 manga chapters. With Kuma's backstory, first starting off with him being born and seeing his parents with his dad talking to the doctor, and for him to not tell anybody about his blood. Oh wow, another special kind of breed in One Piece. Who could have thunk it? But quickly after a small amount of time, the government comes and takes Kuma's family to be slaves. For the Celestials, with more time passing, we see him get beaten, called by his race a bunkar, and gets horsed around, well, like slaves. His father comes to meet with Kuma to tell him that his mother passed away. Jesus Christ, I'm not crying, you're crying. With more time passing, and his father telling him about the sun god Nika and his song, and out of nowhere he is shot by a Celestial for being too loud and killed in front of Kuma. The story then turns to fucking God Valley. Clearly, there's nothing important here, so I'll spare you the details on some of the events. On God Valley, Kuma and others are put onto this island where they're going to be hunted for sport by Celestials. Kuma tries to escape, but is caught by other slaves to come back, and is saved by none other than Ivankov and Ginny. With the slaves having a plan to steal the fruit and escape, Ginny also sends a SOS a few weeks back, leading to Rocks and Roger pirates to come onto the island with a little bit added bonus of the Navy. Kuma's able to actually steal a fruit and eats one, but gets punched by one of the also called elders, where it hard cuts to him and the other trio in the church, where they're thinking about what they're going to do with their newfound freedom, with Ivankov selling off and Ginny and Kuma staying behind on the island, with them eating and asking each other when they turn into slaves. They start to burst out into tears over the realization of freedom. With more time passing, Kuma deciding to become a pastor, where he heals elders with his power once a week, with the elderly wanting him to do it more, but Ginny comes in and says no, just to find out later that when Kuma takes pain out of them, he has to take it all in, because if he doesn't, the ball of energy will go straight back to the person, so all the pain that he took out will go straight back to them. The elderly also complain about the king, who doesn't really care about them, and the only thing he cares about is becoming a celestial. He also overcharges all of the citizens in the kingdom for heavily tribute. Time passes again, and Ginny asks to marry Kuma, but he doesn't want to because of his blood, and him knowing that how dangerous his blood being out there is. More time passes again, and Kuma is asking for Perseus back because the king gave up half of the island to pirates because the south side can't pay their tributes, and Kuma and his friends get locked up for defying the king. Kuma and his friends get saved from imprisonment by dragging Annie Ivankov and the revolutionaries as well, where they liberate the island with many others and becoming a captain of their own forces in their own right, with Ginny and Kuma to be a bit more separate. With Ginny about to meet Kuma, she's actually captured, and then with 2 years passing after her capture, Kuma gets more rash with his attacks with the revolutionaries whenever they try to liberate an area, and it's found out that Ginny is kidnapped by the government to be wed by a celestial, but just recently has been kicked out to the curb because she is dying. She calls Kuma as well as Dragon and Ivankov to tell him all this information and telling Kuma to not visit her because she doesn't want them to see her like this. But Kuma knows that she went back to the island that they first were on, and when he finds her, he finds out that she's dead, but she has a baby with her, and Kuma wanting to raise the child as his own. He, as well as raising this child, and as well as being a revolutionary, helping Dragon and liberate other locations. More time passes, and it's found out that Bonnie has a jewel on her face, just like her mom when she had an illness. A doctor comes in to give his verdict, but he doesn't know what to do. And then another doctor comes in again and tells him that they have an illness where they can't have sunlight beat on their skin, or they have more jewels on their body. He then also comes to tell her that by the age of 10, when she's like a good like 4 or 5, she will be dead if she even makes it to the age of 10. And prior to this, they already had a conversation saying if she was 19, where she would like to go, or what location that she would like to be in. Now I'll end it off there. I'll just give a whole bunch of information on the backstory of Kuma and who he is as a person. I generally just want to talk about why I love this backstory so much and why it's one of my favorites at this point. With it, funny enough, not even being over yet. But to start off things, if I would have to say anything, it would probably be the faith aspect when it comes to Kuma and his character, right? Because even though he's go through everything, like even when he was a child, he go through slavery, as well as seeing his parents die in front of him, as well as being put on an island and having to become a revolutionary in the end of it, or even losing the love of his life, he still had faith, like everything's sort of being okay. He sounds like a smile on his face, like he looks on the brighter side of things. One of the examples I give is like the sun god Nika. He always talks about Nika regardless of, since like his dad had first told him. He even goes to the point of telling Bonnie that from the other manga chapters that we see in One Piece, like she also talks about Nika and how she knows of him from Kuma always talking about him and always talking highly of him and wanting to see him, as well as in his backstory finally getting at least some decent amount of answers, whether it be Kuma's backstory as well as what happened on God Valley and the incident of the incursion of Rogers, the Navy, as well as the Rocks Pirate themselves. And obviously we don't get the full story of it, we'll get it later, but at least we delved into it a little bit and seeing where Kuma was in that moment of time. Also, Oda knows how to make a fucking tragic backstory. He's the master and god of that for some odd reason. That's just what it is, even so much to the point of putting this at the bottom of the last chapter. I feel like it's just also added in with the just completely fucked context of his past, of like him just being a slave ever since he was born, and then him becoming a warlord and a revolutionary, and then just out of all the shit that's happened to him, he goes straight back down to being a slave for the Celestials, which from a retrospective, it just fucking breaks my heart. I've said that so many times, but it just hurts me so much. As well as Kuma losing his memories on top of that, which we don't really know why he decided to do the things he did with Vegapunk. But honestly, with Kuma, I felt like anything he's doing is justified. He's a super good guy. I trust Kuma. Then there's also him just continuing showing how much ruthless and how fucking terrible that the Celestials are, and how despicable, like there's no likable trait about them whatsoever. They all have to be annihilated at some point. And there's also other aspect of also delving a little more deep into Kuma's power and seeing like, hey, if I got rid of this bubble, then it will literally go back to the other person. I don't know if that was ever known or shown in the manga or the anime early cases, but I'm assuming this is the first time it's shown. So like it just expanding a little bit more on Kuma's power in general. I mean, obviously some of the sadness that we do have here, but also some of the happiness I do see in it, where you know, where they finally get out and they finally become free. They're not slaves anymore. And I didn't notice this, but like I don't believe he even cried that much after he was told not to cry anymore. So then when they get to the point where they're free and then they're in the house, they're eating and they're having a good time, and he asked the question, how long have you been like a slave for, or when were you a slave? Ever since I was 4 years old. And then they both start to cry, almost like I felt like, in my opinion, like a realization of we're free, like we're finally able to be free. We don't have to work for anyone. We don't have to be a slave anymore to anybody. We are our own person. But that's all I had to say for that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing, and doing the most for me. See you guys in the next one. Peace.